Star Trek Strange New Worlds has never been afraid to blend classic science fiction with mystery, suspense, and even horror. Season 4 Episode 2 takes that tradition even further by delivering what feels like a haunted house story set aboard an abandoned Federation starship. At first, the episode appears to be a straightforward rescue mission, but by the ending it becomes clear that the USS Griffin is hiding something far stranger than a simple disaster. The episode leaves viewers with several major questions. What really happened to the Griffin's crew? Why did everyone experience terrifying hallucinations that targeted their deepest fears and regrets? Was Harper ever truly alive during the investigation? And perhaps most importantly, was the Griffin actually haunted, or was something even more mysterious at work? Let us break down everything the ending reveals. The mystery begins with a distress signal from the USS Griffin, a Federation vessel that disappeared 9 years earlier with a crew of roughly 300 people aboard. That alone is unsettling because the ship still has gravity and breathable air despite showing no life signs anywhere inside. Normally, a derelict Federation vessel would contain bodies or at least evidence explaining the fate of its crew. Instead, the Griffin is almost completely empty. The silence throughout the ship immediately creates the feeling that something is deeply wrong. The first clue comes when James T. Kirk, Spock, and Lon briefly encounter Harper. She appears frightened, asks for help, and then disappears almost instantly. At first, Harper looks like the sole survivor of a terrible accident. By the end of the episode, it becomes clear that Harper represents something much more complicated. Following Harper's trail leads the away team toward evidence that two completely different groups entered the Griffin after its disappearance. One group appears to have been trying to remove something from the ship. The other desperately tried to lock whatever it was back inside. That detail is incredibly important because it tells us the Griffin itself was never the real problem. Something aboard the ship was. From this point onward, every major character becomes vulnerable to psychological manipulation. Instead of attacking physically, the mysterious force studies each person's emotional weaknesses and creates incredibly convincing hallucinations designed specifically for them. James T. Kirk experiences perhaps the most heartbreaking illusion. He hears the cries of David, the son he desperately believes is trapped somewhere aboard the ship. Driven by emotion instead of reason, Kirk tears apart the Griffin's fuel systems trying to rescue someone who is never actually there. The hallucination is effective because it exploits one of Kirk's deepest fears. No matter how capable he is as a Starfleet officer, he cannot always protect the people he loves. His desire to save his child completely overrides his training. The tragic irony is that his desperate rescue attempt actually damages the ship even further. Instead of helping, he unintentionally makes the situation more dangerous for everyone. Lon's investigation reveals another crucial piece of the puzzle. She discovers Harper's video logs. Initially, they seem like ordinary captain's reports documenting a mysterious infection spreading throughout the crew. As the recordings continue, Harper begins speaking directly to Lon, despite the messages being recorded years earlier. That moment completely changes how viewers interpret everything they have seen. Either the mysterious force exists outside normal concepts of time, or Harper herself became connected to something capable of perceiving future visitors. Neither explanation fits comfortably within conventional Star Trek science. Spock uncovers perhaps the most horrifying truth aboard the Griffin. Medical records reveal the crew did not die from disease or alien infection. Instead, they murdered one another. Some were stabbed. Others were strangled. Still others were thrown through airlocks. That revelation tells us the so-called infection was never biological. It was psychological. Whatever reached the Griffin invaded the minds of its crew, convincing friends, families, and colleagues that the people around them had become enemies or threats. The result was complete paranoia and mutual destruction. Spock then experiences one of the episode's most disturbing sequences. He encounters Fring. At first, she appears completely real. She speaks naturally. She remembers their relationship. She behaves exactly as someone would expect. Then the illusion gradually becomes terrifying. She restrains Spock and begins cutting away one of his ears while blaming his Vulcan heritage for everything that went wrong between them. The physical injuries are real. The attacker is not. This perfectly demonstrates the power of whatever exists aboard the Griffin. It does not simply create visual hallucinations. It somehow convinces victims that impossible events are physically happening, allowing people to injure themselves while believing someone else is responsible. That pattern becomes even clearer once Captain Pike's rescue team boards the ship. Instead of solving the problem, they become victims as well. Sam Kirk hears his newborn child crying. Unlike James, nobody can convince him the sound is false. His emotions overwhelm his judgment. He opens an airlock and walks directly into space. Unlike many earlier moments, Sam's death is entirely real. His hallucination kills him because he willingly obeys it. This perfectly illustrates the true danger of the Griffin. The mysterious force does not physically murder people. It persuades victims to destroy themselves. Captain Pike and Una experience equally disturbing visions. Pike calmly begins cutting off his own fingers because he convinces himself that abandoning command will finally allow him to live a peaceful life as a chef. This hallucination reflects a fear that has quietly followed Pike throughout the series. Command constantly demands sacrifice. Every decision carries enormous responsibility. Part of him occasionally wonders what life might have been if he had chosen a completely ordinary future. Una's hallucination focuses on her hidden Illyrian identity. She imagines literally cutting away the part of herself that has complicated her Starfleet career. The symbolism could not be clearer. She has spent years struggling with acceptance. Her vision suggests that deep inside she still questions whether life would be easier if she could erase part of who she is. Perhaps the most important moment belongs to Spock. Unlike everyone else, he eventually recognizes that nothing around him follows logic. His hallucinations contradict observable reality. Instead of trusting his emotions, he relies on Vulcan discipline. Reciting a familiar meditation allows him to separate illusion from truth. That decision ultimately saves not only himself, but also the rest of the mission. The episode quietly reminds viewers why Vulcan mental training has always been one of Star Trek's greatest strengths. Logic cannot eliminate fear. It can prevent fear from taking complete control. Once the real Enterprise crew successfully transports Spock, Kirk, and Lon back aboard, it appears the nightmare has ended. Every horrifying encounter with Pike, Una, Uhura, Ortegas, and Sam aboard the Griffin is revealed to have been another carefully constructed illusion. The real officers never behaved that way at all. Yet the ending refuses to provide complete comfort. Captain Pike privately shares a childhood experience involving what he believes may have been a ghost. This conversation is surprisingly significant. Throughout Star Trek history, strange phenomena almost always receive scientific explanations. Pike deliberately leaves open another possibility. Perhaps not everything in the universe can be explained through physics alone. That idea prepares viewers for the episode's final image. After returning safely to the Enterprise, Lon looks out into space. There, drifting silently beyond the viewport, she sees the Griffin once again. Harper stands aboard the ghostly vessel and waves directly at her. The moment lasts only an instant before disappearing. This raises the biggest question of the entire episode. If everything aboard the Griffin was merely psychological manipulation, how could Lon witness Harper after escaping the ship? There are several possible interpretations. The first is that the mysterious force still has some connection to Lon. Even after leaving the Griffin, traces of its influence may remain, allowing it to continue projecting visions into her mind. The second possibility is far stranger. Harper may actually exist outside normal space and time after whatever happened aboard the Griffin. Her appearance throughout the episode could represent someone trapped between life and death, endlessly warning future visitors away from the same fate. The third possibility is the one Pike quietly hints toward. The Griffin may truly be haunted. Star Trek has occasionally explored phenomena that resemble ghosts while ultimately revealing exotic alien life, higher dimensional beings, or unknown forms of energy. This episode intentionally refuses to settle on a single explanation, allowing the supernatural atmosphere to remain intact. That ambiguity is exactly what makes the ending so memorable. Rather than answering every question, the episode leaves viewers wondering whether the Griffin has been escaped at all. The abandoned ship remains somewhere in space. Whatever destroyed its crew appears capable of surviving for years. Harper's final wave suggests the story may not be over. Whether she is a victim, a warning, or something transformed into an entirely new form of existence remains one of the episode's biggest mysteries. Ultimately, Season 4, Episode 2 is not simply a ghost story. It is a story about how fear, grief, regret, and guilt can become powerful enough to distort reality itself. Every hallucination reflects something deeply personal that each character desperately wishes they could change. The mysterious force aboard the Griffin does not invent those emotions. It simply turns them against the people experiencing them. That psychological focus makes the horror feel surprisingly intimate and explains why the episode stands out as one of the darkest and most thought-provoking chapters in Strange New Worlds. It combines classic Star Trek mystery with psychological horror while leaving just enough uncertainty to ensure that the image of Harper silently waving from the drifting Griffin lingers long after the credits finish rolling.